Good morning, all. Welcome to a fresh start of the day here at day 2 of NAB. Hopefully you all had a little bit of fun last night as my team did and are ready to go and talk a little bit about video next workflows here at the NAB show. So today I'm going to share a little bit about ArcXP and our view of how the industry needs to move from rundowns to really a runtime and our reasons for doing so. So hopefully we'll bring a little bit of our experience as a digital focused vendor along with the long record of expertise we've had in the broadcast industry, integrating with rundown systems and linear workflows. So as I mentioned, we're really talking today about going from rundown to runtime, and there's some real business reasons for this. We hear from our customers, from broadcasters, traditional publishers, to digital publishers, to newspapers, that fundamentally they know their business model's broken. Direct traffic is declining, whether that direct traffic is coming from SEO to websites, to mobile apps, or for linear broadcast. We then see that AI really is not driving visitors. When people come to hear our stories in traditional formats, they're often looking for answers. Well, we've discovered that consumers are going and getting those answers directly from chat experiences and never coming to our O&O properties to experience the full storytelling and formats that come from the diverse workflows of our industry. Finally, and this is the most important one for ArcXP, the expectations of consumers has changed dramatically. The user experience that the new audience is looking for is dramatically different than what many of the vendors and what we've worked as a community at NAB over many years to provide. That linear package that we have so many great systems to create really is a misfit for the generation of today and the content that they see as they scroll, as they go to TikTok, on social, on YouTube. And it's not just a matter of taking a one format and doing a vertical video. That really misses the mark of the UX expectations of that consumer audience. So we've seen these 3 trends come together across the thousands of media sites that run on ArcXP today. And when I talk to CEOs and chief product officers and they worry about the revenue that they need to continue their storytelling, these 3 themes have come up loud and clear. Some of the metrics that go behind it, we see that 60% of traffic referrals has gone down over the last 2 years for small news organizations, and that large media, it's over 20%. Think about what this means for their revenue model. Think about what it means for the audience that's been lost and the lost opportunity to monetize that audience, whether it's through subscriptions, OTT, or advertising plays. So over 2 years, every size tier, with no exceptions, has seen a dramatic decline. And this was done by one of our partners, Chartbeat, who really has the pulse on what the audience is doing when they come for content. So taking a step back, at NAB for many years, we've been focused on what we call Audience 1.0. Literally, if you think about broadcast, is taking the same story package and giving it to all audiences simultaneously, often with very low latency. Think about how many vendors are trying to make sure we give that exact same experience at high quality, at low latency to the audience. So we've really built a whole ecosystem around a passive consumer, a one-size-fit-all model, one in which it's media controlled and we're seeking attention. So our industry really, and the workflows I see as I walk the halls over the last 2 days, is focused on Audience 1.0. Truth is, Audience 3.0 is where we've seen the audiences moved. That's that experience I was talking about on social. They're looking for the co-creators and stakeholders in that content. They want to engage as fans as they're watching that live sports programming. They want to have predictive, immersive, and adaptive experiences. User-owned and controlled is the value exchange with ownership and influence. And so if we think from the outside in, from the customer, the consumer back, we really are still focusing on workflows for the wrong audience. And that's why we see that decline. As an industry, if we can adopt new models to get to Audience 3.0, that's the life we'll need to really improve the P&Ls of our media industries. And just reinforcing some more of the numbers, 44% of global 18 to 24 say social media is their main source of news. And sure, many of us have tools and technologies to take our linear VODs, clip them up, and get them on social, but they stick out like a sore thumb when I show it to my 13-year-old. He knows that wasn't a format native experience. The same thing is true for media leaders. They fear losing top editorial talent to creator platforms. Because truth be told, if you're a great individual creator, and there's been many of them at the show here at NAB, the returns they can get for their storytelling is much higher than they might get as part of a traditional brand. So some of these are the metrics that really are driving us to think more broadly about how do we get to audience 3.0 and how do we figure out the workflows behind it. And this is where I think as an industry, we have to take a hard look. I spent many years actually leading one of the primary rundown computer system tools that's here at NAB. And I know all the intricacies of rundowns and timing and MOS and making sure that's doing the right thing for the director in the control room. But really, if we think about the rundown for broadcast production, that rundown serves as the primary top-level parent. A story exists within it. It's optimized for scheduling, for performance, for coordination, for getting that live show on the air with a smaller and smaller crew. In the world of CMSs and digital publishing, we've really seen that there's a collection that's used where the page is the primary unit. So instead of a show with segments, we've got a collection, which is the home page with different areas, optimized for production, SEO performance, and assumes a reader who visits our site is able to find us, not a reader who's always living inside of a feed. So if you think about it as an industry, we've got these two paradigms, and there's lots of great work connecting these workflows, but it's a misfit. They were built brilliantly for their era, an era of audience 1.0. How do we challenge ourselves in the industry to build a workflow that reaches that audience 3.0? So our takeaway is a lot of the work that continues in the industry is finely tuned for an audience that's diminishing and losing, and we need to adapt and go forward. It's no surprise it took me a couple slides to talk about AI. And this is because we hear it from our customers, we hear it in the industry, in trade associations, and in my development team. And they're asking the question, what if AI could be the secret answer, the door that warps our stories to where audiences want to be? Couldn't we have an easy button, just keep doing things in a rundown, keep working on our legacy CMSs, and reach audience 3.0? And truth be told, there's some great work happening in this space. But as we've gone at ArcXP and really tried to figure out how do we enable a bunch of agents to come together, have the context to do that well, some of those core workflows are holding us back. We have a vision that allows AI agents to scale storytelling while remaining that human voice, remaining having that brand. And this is essential. We hear it from our customers. And we've done a lot of work in market with researching, drafting, really helping a journalist and a storyteller be more efficient, but being more efficient in their existing workflow. We have journalists and creators remain at the center, collaborating with agents, supporting multi-format storytelling, really bringing together those linear and digital teams. And we're looking to accelerate content velocity because oftentimes we'll see that breaking news doesn't come from a traditional media publisher. It comes from an individual influencer that might be on the field that's breaking that sports story before any of us get a chance to. So we need to move faster and bring contextually rich and emotional intelligence to those agents. We've done a lot of exploration with our customers over the last 2 years, and more than exploration, we have customers every day in ArcXP using agents to this end. ArcXP is a part of the Washington Post. We're a media operating system that spans a CMS to a digital XP platform, to a digital asset management tool, to playout, to subscriptions used by broadcasters, as well as digital publications. And as all that diversity of clients have used these tools, they've seen benefit. They've seen amazing new capabilities where they can tell more stories, have richer tagging, and amplify what their teams can do. One key use case we've got in the product today leverages the brand standards that many of our customers have adopted, kind of their DNA, where they want to make sure every story has the right tone of voice, has the accuracy. And so here you can see an experience where as soon as a story is saved, as soon as it comes into the platform, we have a swarm of agents that try to take that style guide and adapt it. And some of these style guides are hundreds of pages long. And what we discovered, the real challenge here wasn't any individual step. It was working in concert across those agents and pulling them together to figure out which part of the style guide we honor. That's something that our human editors have done for decades, but that context isn't always available. And as a system, we haven't built an industry that allows us to pass that context from one agent to the next. So this is something that we've learned a lot about. It's very exciting to see in market, in production with our customers every day. A lot of value has come from this tool whether that value is connecting with new audiences to own your audience, innovating rapidly to meet these new needs of the market, or finally developing new independent sources of revenue. All those three aims, we hope these agents can do. But that real challenge for us that we realized was systems aren't talking. They don't truly understand what's going on across these agents. A simple thing like how do you properly quote someone that you've interviewed will have one agent that say it's perfect, another that say it needs to be augmented, another that says it should be stripped away because it doesn't meet legal rights. Which one do we honor? Well, how do we make sure they know how to talk with one another? So when we come back to that end journalist, they get a recommendation and tool that makes sense without hallucinations and managing those brand standards. So these systems not talking together really constricted our ability to bring more and more agents to the table to meet that new audience. So a question we've been asking ourselves is how could we have context be part of the infrastructure of our industry, not only within ArcXP, but across vendors? How could we have infrastructure that allows that context to span across the story as the central object, as opposed to a rundown or a homepage? And this is something I'm really excited about because the industry, not only within media and entertainment, but at large within technology, has been talking about context quite a bit. How can we bring this together as infrastructure, not just a conversation that we're doing chatbots with for spot solutions? So it's a pretty exciting time. And, when I think about the conversation here, it reminds me of a standard that really was has been and continues to be the glue across many vendors, and that's MOS. It's something I had the opportunity to contribute to over a couple of decades. And with the Media Object Server Protocol, it allowed many vendors to provide the context for linear broadcast workflows as it went through systems. So we see a strong parallel with how this industry lit up the industry and bringing together best-of-breed solutions to deliver a great consumer experience, albeit for Audience 1.0. So a common protocol for items, rundowns, and device control widely deployed. But when it came to what it couldn't carry for us, it really was not appropriate for this story-centric workflow, for bringing the context to the story, the workflow events that took place that we found were necessary, even in that small demo I gave a moment ago, of using a story copy editor agent in a linear fashion as it went into digital. Why this matters now is when the only consumer of editorial content was a human holding the whole picture in their head, that was fine. We don't expect that for the future. We want to unlock the power of these agents so that we can have a tight team of journalists create engaging content. So for us, we think there's an opportunity for this industry. We see an opportunity, as we think about video next, for the story to become the system. Not that individual media asset, not that rundown, not that homepage, but going from an asset-centric world where producing a video, publishing a page, scheduling a show, where we began and ended those workflows, but instead having the beginning and end of that workflow be with the consumer experience with a story-centric mindset. And this is nothing new. I think I spoke 15 years ago at NAB about story-centric and our desire to get there. It's taken us a long time for it to happen. I see it in market, but I think the reason it took so long was we needed the commercials and the consumers to drive us there. They've driven us to need a better story-centric experience that thinks about the surfaces they want to experience our stories through as opposed to the ones we've built before. So we see an opportunity for a story-centric where that's the primary unit, video, text, audio, clips, podcasts, live production all come together, and the context travels along with that story, not only all around human actors, but also those agentic actors and workflows. A lot of talk has gone into agentic. I'm sure all of you are using agents in some way today, whether it's with Claude or ChatGPT, but our lesson has been that when you take a lot of those individual actions and go beyond just a chat interface, really embed it in these high-end production tools, that context becomes critical. And that conflict across those actors is imperative for us to solve. So bringing it home, we see an opportunity to go from that rundown and homepage to really a runtime that's designed to enable not only the many vendors that are here with great technologies, but the many agents and AI capabilities that people are dreaming up day by day and vibe coding in my teams, I'm sure in your teams, and in places that we don't even expect. So that's what I'm really excited about, is that we are exploring new standards in this regard. We joined an IBC incubator project this year with many other leading broadcasters and technologists that's called Smart Stories for the Agentic Production Ecosystem. And at the heart of this is something we're calling the SOM, the Story Object Model. And, it's kind of cute. It's the inverse of Moss, and we'll see how this evolves. But we're working with AP, BBC, ITN, NBCU, Channel 4, Al Jazeera, and the Washington Post, our parent company, to sponsor this, and a wide range of stakeholders as we prototype how we can use agents, how we can bring that context across the workflow to meet that aim. So some of the things we're doing is an open standard here to learn from the benefits of Moss. It includes story agents activities where one story exists across the workflow, but we can track not only what the story is and where it's gone, but the key workflow steps, how agents have interacted with that, how agents from a diversity of different vendors have come in to be able to play together in that agentic workflow. So it's really a coordination layer, but it's a coordination layer not grounded in a rundown or a Moss item reference, but instead in the story itself. So I think it's an exciting time where we see the consumer is looking for that new story-centric experience. We see the technology requires that we do so to unlock the power of agents. And we see the industry at large working together collaboratively to find a way that we can really envision where the SOM doesn't contain the intelligence, but that coordination layer, and works with all the other standards that exist out there today, including Moss. So this is something that you'll probably hear elsewhere at the show from some of the other sponsors. We're continuing to develop it. I encourage you to look it up. Check out the ArcXP homepage. We've got some great content there on it in terms of how we're hoping to use this new evolving standard to meet the story object model. A little bit behind the scenes, we've been thinking about that workflow around breaking news. I mentioned earlier, we want the speed of this workflow to match what an individual creator could do, but do it with the intelligence, the experience, all the great systems we bring together for a better output. So you can imagine a workflow where we have something come from a wire, the premise changes, a contradiction fires, assets are flagged, an editor decides, and there's an audit trail. Each of these are the kind of steps that would be associated with the story in that object model as it went from end to end, as we built that experience that came from breaking news and not just took that wire and reformatted it into a classic package, but instead had agents that helped do that at accelerated pace, and then also used agents to format it for the different audiences that were out there. One of the amazing things that going from audience 1.0 to 3.0 gives us is hyper-segmentation, micro-segmentation rather, and hyper-personalization. So we get the opportunity now with these systems to, as we get to the end of this workflow, to generate different experiences on a per-consumer basis. That's what we see in our feeds today as you scroll. You're getting a unique experience. None of our phones are showing the same feed, and actually the content in those feeds is different, especially in advertising. If we can leverage the same benefit advertisers have seen with hyper-personalization within our workflows through orchestration, then I think it really is an unlock for the industry. And it's one of the reasons we're seeing so much energy around this protocol. So that's a little bit about what we're hoping to do with agentic coordination. In the end, our desire is to have stories that live wherever that audience does, whether that story is in the format of a linear, OTT, digital, mobile, and whatever the next UX experience might be. That's not been the pace this industry has moved at. If we take a hard look at ourselves in the mirror, if you think back, I don't want to count how many NABs I've been to, but it's been way more than I would like to. If I think about, as I walk around these halls and the stories that I see, the formats, sure, we have higher fidelity. Sure, they're faster. Sure, that we have the ability to have better definition, better CGs, better graphics. But the core form of that storytelling has remained relatively fixed, as we see for our digital customers. When I look at the homepages built by our legacy newspapers on our platform, they look a lot like the paper versions they had 2 or 3 decades ago. That's not going to reach the new audience. So we can use this technology with AI, new standards, and great partners to reach this audience and tell amazing stories to unlock the value within our media companies. So in sum, we really believe at ArcXP that this new reality needs a new approach. To win Audience 3.0, media companies need much more than a CMS, need much more than a rundown. They need one that goes from managing content to one that really helps you own your audience, innovate rapidly, and grow independent revenue. We truly believe in the industry, the door has been opened. I am so excited by what developers are doing, what I've seen here with vibe coding. So a lot of startups running around these halls with amazing things they say they've built in a week. The door is truly open. If we can be bold together and walk through it, that's what will unlock the future of this industry. And that's what ArcXP is here to do. We want to build for the future of where we're headed, the future of the audience, not refine the workflows of the past. And that might be a little controversial, but that's what gets us excited in our engineers every day as we consider how to bring forward new technologies with our partners for this market. So thank you for starting your day with me here at the stage. There's lots of great content to see in the rest of the day. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have right now or after the session. So thank you very much. I'm Joe Croney from ArcXP, and it's great to join you at another NAB.
How can you prevent being hijacked from a story that is basically fake news?
That's an excellent question. And it's one that's come up many times for us as we've brought agentic workflows and agents to newsrooms. And the question was, how can you prevent the story from being hijacked? How can you prevent it from false information getting into that story and becoming, as you said, a fake news? And one of the opportunities we have with the story object model is that audit trail. We have the opportunity before you publish to go in and verify every agent that took an action on it and what that activity included. We can then also include agents that have specialized in just that challenge. Within the copy editor agent workflow we have in ArcXP, it also has the capability to do fact verification. It has the ability to make sure that if there's a claim being made that is backed up by the actual quote that came from the source journalist. So I see this actually as part of the solution to that industry challenge of having verifiable news and avoiding the hallucinations that we all see every day when we ask Claude to help us out with the challenge. So I think it's a real opportunity. It's a great question. Thank you. Yes. Do you mind using the microphone?
So for the personalization, where say, is that going to be that I log into the Wall Street Journal mobile app and with my account, it recognizes things about me that presents an article that would otherwise be seen on the printed Wall Street Journal, but now it's adapted for me, and that happens today? Or this is just a in the future hoped, the intention of ArcXP?
No, that's something that we do today within ArcXP. Probably the best example of it is something we call Ask the News. And Ask the News is a chat experience. You can see it on the Washington Post today, where you can ask any question. And we'll go through the archives and we'll respond with a dynamic answer on the fly, including the source journalism that it was derived from. So that's probably the most extreme version of hyper-personalization, where that content answer never touched a journalist directly. We had an agent respond to you on the fly, and then you can interact back and forth with it. There are other abilities within the system to do more personalization around segments. So as you look at a story, and I happen to be an Eagles fan because I'm from Philadelphia, our system allows you to specialize it for if you happen to be from the East Coast tracking the NFL versus if you're on the West Coast. And it'll actually have a different part of that story presented to the user. So we have that capability as well. And really the question that we ask our customers in selecting which mode is where they want to be as a brand. Not all brands are comfortable with that AI chat response content. In fact, we've heard from some customers that they strictly will prohibit it at this point. They don't see that as the future, and they're very worried about that. We believe in the future that the nerves there will be calmed by addressing what the question came up earlier of making sure the stories match the facts that came in. So that's where we are with personalization today.
So maybe offline, I could ask you on my app for Wall Street Journal how it's going to let me do that ask.
Absolutely. So to be clear, ArcXP is part of the Washington Post. So I'd recommend you go to the Washington Post site to see that experience. But we serve many media companies around the world, whether it's Bell Media in Canada, Gray here in the U.S., the Boston Globe, or Le Parisien in Paris. So each one of those has a different set of editorial standards, brand standards. And as I think about the product they wish to create for their audience, the answer is not always the same. It's not one size fit all. As a platform, we've been investing heavily for really half a decade to enable hyper-personalization at scale. Just like the broadcast industry technically is optimized to say, take the same story package and send it over the air, the same is true in digital. We use CDNs to efficiently send the exact same package and story to every homepage user in the world. So we've had to go back to that technology, work with our partners to be able to do personalization at edge within the CDN. I think we've got time for one more question if there's any today. All right. Well, thank you once again for your time today. I hope you enjoy NAB.